become the big-time players, the big-time opening combination. What a fabulous record these two have at the top of the order.
Let's talk about Australia. We often talk about the batting, but you've got to say the top order of Aaron Finch and probably Glenn Maxwell, the two guys that aren't in form going into this World Cup.
No, I don't think our warm-up games have been any use to us, really. I mean, we've been travelling all around Australia, which hasn't been great. I'm not sure why we've been, to the Gold Coast and then to Perth and then to Canberra. But no, we've seen Finch and Maxwell. Both these players have struggled in nearly every game. So they didn't really get much out of that warm-up games, particularly Aaron Finch. And the weird thing was we never gave Inglis and Steve Smith much of a go. So we basically picked our side and stuck to it through these warm-up games. But really, Finch and Maxwell are the two guys, the glaring standouts who haven't done much.
Yeah, they are. I'm actually not that worried about Glenn Maxwell. He plays a high-risk game. He's been successful in his form of the game over a long time at different tournaments. And he's got one of those guys that can win your World Cup. You just got to make sure he's refreshed. And that's the thing I think we missed during these warm-up games. I think you needed to give guys like Maxwell a break. He looked actually fatigued. Yeah. So I'm not worried about his form. Finchy, I'm glad to see him at the top of the order. And I think this being probably his last ICC event, I think he'll relax, and I think he's really going to take the game on in the first 6 overs.
All right, what about his partner at the other end, Dave Warner? Been in pretty good nick. We've seen some good signs from David Warner. No,
he's playing really well, David Warner. I'm not worried about him in the least. He was the leading run scorer of the last World Cup in the UAE, so he's a big match player, David Warner. And what I've liked about his warm-up games is the way he's batted, the tempo he's batted with. He hasn't looked to hit 6s and 4s every ball. He's used the pace of the ball. To me, if we need someone to bat through the innings, David Warner could be that player as well. We've got a lot of hitters there, so we might need someone to bat through the 20 overs. So he's the guy that can do that as well.
All right, what about moving in the middle order? I always get the feeling in World Cups, 5s, 6s and 7s are going to win the World Cup. We didn't see a lot of Finch and Maxwell in the last World Cup. Is it going to be the Steve Smith probably may not play with Tim David in that middle order?
I think you'll see Tim David in the middle order, but the two players I'm really excited about are Stoinis and Matthew Wade. I think last World Cup they really stood up in really big moments. Matthew Wade's probably been the difference in our team for some time now. He's got runs under pressure. Steve Smith, David debate, who plays who. I think that'll work out on different venues. You play and what style of game they want to play, but yeah, the big one for me there is the way Matthew Wade's playing under pressure. All
right, well, he's going to be out there with Tim David. Do you put him in the 11?
Oh, Tim David's a definite starter. He's the difference between the last World Cup and this World Cup.
Mid-off up, mid-wicket open. Over the offside. No fielder stopping that. It's hitting the dancing girls. Oh! Right.
Yeah, the big one for me there is the way Matthew Wade's playing under pressure.
All right, well, he's going to be out there with Tim David. Do you put him in the 11?
Oh, Tim David's a definite starter. He's the difference between the last World Cup and this World Cup. He's the only player that didn't play in the UAE, Tim David. So, I see that power game through the middle really strong for Australia. That 5, 6, 7 with Stoinis, David and Wade. They're the guys that can win you the tournament. Mitch Marsh at number 3, I reckon he's in good form as well. So we've actually got 5 players in really good form with the bat. That includes Warner and those 4 I just mentioned. 2 that are out of form, but it doesn't matter if you've got the other guys in form.
All right, let's have a look at the schedule for Australia, because as you said, it kicks off on Saturday. That is the 22nd of October, and that's at the Sydney Cricket Ground. They take on New Zealand, and then they head over to Group A winner at Perth Stadium. So they're doing a lot of travelling, aren't they, Hads?
Yeah, they are, and I'm nervous about this first game. New Zealand haven't shown great form leading into this tournament. What they are, though, is a tournament team. They come up in big tournaments, but they're runner-up last year. And they've got some players that match up really well against Australia. You see Bold at the top of the order, but I'm really nervous about that first game against New Zealand.
Well, they've got a good run home, Australia. They play the Group B runner-up, and then they play Afghanistan. So if they get in a bit of trouble against New Zealand and England, at least they can go hard at the end if they need to get their net run rate up.
Yeah, well, Afghanistan, that game's in Adelaide, so that really should suit our bowling attack in Adelaide with that sort of bounce and pace. If you happen to play Afghanistan, say, in Melbourne or Sydney, where it might spin a bit, they'd be much tougher, but I think Adelaide's a good draw to play Afghanistan.
You also don't want to play in teams like Afghanistan when you're chasing the run rate as well, and a lot of weather's around, so it's important that you start really well in this World Cup, because If you're playing an Afghanistan team where you have to move the game forward, that's when Rashid Khan and Majid come right into the contest.
All right, let's move on. We've done the Aussies. What about India? How good are they? They can be very, very dangerous. They take on Pakistan in their first game. Rohit Sharma, KL Rahul at the top of the order. Is batting their strength?
Oh, definitely. There's no Bumrah and no Jadeja in their lineup, so that's a couple of big holes in their bowling lineup in here. But their batting, it has to be the best top 6 in the tournament, along with Australia. Just got so much.
Oh, he's got that right in the middle of the bat. That'll be a sixer.
There we go, just pop it over for 6. They needed that, Travis said. He's been heaving and sawing it the previous 2 deliveries. He was dropped on the sweeper on the offside.
It has to be the best top 6 in the tournament, along with Australia. They've just got so much strike power there with guys like Sharma and KL Rahul. They can take the game forward right from the get-go. They're fairly orthodox players as well, and I think they're quite well suited on the bouncy, pacey tracks in Australia. So, they've got some firepower, particularly at the start of the order.
What about this guy, Hads, coming in at number 3, probably one of the best batsmen in the world we'll ever see?
Yeah, I think what we've seen in the last month or so, he's come back into form. He's got 100 in this form in the game recently, and let's be honest, he enjoys the big occasions. This is what he's made for, a World Cup event, and I expect him to have a huge tournament off the back of some really good opening batters.
No captaincy for him? Will he relax and ease into it a bit more, you think?
Yeah, I think he will. I think he'll be much more free in what he does and just doesn't have to worry about everybody else, so he'll focus on his own game. But he brings a lot of energy to the side, particularly in the field. The Indians, you're going to need to feel well in this tournament, so India have got a good fielding side. But look at the power after those guys. Yadav, he's the new kid on the block, isn't he, Yadav? He strikes about 180 in T20 cricket. He's a fantastic player, so we haven't seen a lot of him. But he's a super player. And Hardik Pandya, he was an Indian team the last World Cup, and he brings great balance to their middle order, doesn't he, Hades?
Yeah, I think one of the things we know about his batting, but with Bumrah out of the tournament, Hardik Pandya also, he's a bit better than part-time. We've seen him take the new ball, he can swing it, he's a wicket taker, but the best thing I like about him, he wants to take the game on. He's not there to let the game just go in this slow sort of fashion. He wants to win games, and that's the big thing in a World Cup. You want players like that taking on the big moments.
Well, Hardik Pandya in the middle order there, that's where you can win and lose World Cups.
Yeah, he can get you 40 off 20 to win you a game, a bit like Tim David. So those sort of guys are so important. They've got guys like Rishabh Pant who mightn't even make their side. That's how good their top 6 is. And Dinesh Karthik is a really good finisher at number 7. So India's batting is about the strongest in the competition.
I reckon we'll get a good indication of how they go against Pakistan, the MCG. They reckon there'll be 90,000+ people. It is sold out. Let's get moving on, boys. England, gee, they look good in the warm-ups, haven't they? England against Australia.
Yeah, it was interesting. We know how strong England's batting is. They've got a lot of power and they trust each other right the way through. I thought their bowling was going to be a bit light on, but with Wokes with that new ball, I think he'll enjoy our conditions. And Sam Curran, to me, he's been outstanding in these warm-up games. He plays the role.
Pull them!
We have seen that so often through the extra cover region.
Accolades by building a big total. He's not slowing. It's caught the fever.
He has.
Hodge, away on the leg side, strikes it beautifully. The first boundary for 6 overs. This man holds the key for the strikers on New Year's Eve. 11 down.
Leading edge, gone.
Dramatic start here.
Bizarre how he's managed to get it there. That was outside the body line down the leg side.
Pushed back by Siraj. Unbelievable performance from India. They were up against it. England were favourites coming into day 5. Kohli and his men have just turned it all around.